Johnny loves dress up, so.
He does. Start.
All right. Why, hello.
Hey there. So, I guess first off, sorry we missed you last week. It was a crazy week. There was a lot going on last weekend, more than we knew that we could bite off. So, was it not this last week, but the week before last, I injured myself on, I think, Wednesday night. I overdid the splits just a little bit much. And so I was literally down for the count Monday, Tuesday, and most of Wednesday, I think.
I think we're going to have to move inside. Sorry, I'm hearing wind on it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see
Yep.
it. Wow, that's a lot of wind.
It's a lot. It's just coming out.
That's
So
surprising. We've done it before in the wind and never had that much.
I know. I think it's the angle that happens. All right. I'm just going to keep the video rolling.
Oh,
like
sure.
The behind the scenes.
I'll take another sip of this to get used to it. Wherever you want.
Let's see. All right, now you guys have to really go downstairs.
We have to really go downstairs. Oh, we can't go in Johnny's bedroom and not make enough.
Yeah, you can go down. You can go in Johnny's bedroom. That's
As
fine.
long as you're not crazy.
I don't wanna. I wanna go downstairs and get the dress up. We'll get the dress up upstairs.
All right.
Let's try that again.
All right, just watch. This picks up on the mic a lot. Why, hello.
Hey there. Take two.
Yes.
Apparently, it's too windy outside for us to podcast outside. So first off, wanted to say sorry for missing you last week. We realized a little too late that we had bitten off more than we could chew last weekend. So I think it was not this Wednesday, but the previous Wednesday. I injured myself in martial arts doing the splits, is my guess. And that...
Too much footloose?
No, too much gravity. That's really where it came to. Trying too hard, I guess, and being older.
So I think about this occasionally. You know what technically killed Jesus?
Gravity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think it
gravity took you
kills
out.
all of us eventually.
I think if we're being technical, no.
Oh.
Other things stop our body processes, but I think crucifixion requires gravity to essentially slowly asphyxiate you, doesn't it?
Well, then that...
And he had died of blood loss as well.
Well, that bears the question with St. Peter, because he was crucified upside down. Does it work the same way?
No, physiologically it does not. I don't know what
So he would have
kills
died
you.
from something completely
Yes.
different.
I imagine it's still gravity induced. maybe it was starvation or dehydration actually.
Or just an asphyxiation because of how much blood is going in the wrong directions and it can't pump the way it's supposed to.
I'm gonna go barf now.
Yeah. Thanks for that, honey.
You're welcome.
So, I wasn't that bad due to gravity, but it was enough to where we weren't able to get everything done. And I ended up being bedridden for a couple of days. So, it wasn't fun, but hey, you can still telework and get stuff done that way. So
That's true.
that worked out. I was totally tired of my bed by Wednesday, though. I did not want to go back to sleep or lay in the bed to go to sleep. I was like, I just
you haven't
left
been
this place.
sleeping while working.
Yes. No.
Too many meetings. You got the
Not that good.
awkward bedroom background during your Zoom calls?
No, I blurred.
Okay.
I blurred.
That's good.
Yeah, people don't need to see
I have to say
things on our headboard.
I'm typically not a fan of like bedroom Zoom.
Yeah, and I only did that for one internal meeting, maybe 2 internal meetings. But for everything else, if it was outside the office, they just...
No camera?
They had the D.
Okay.
That's all they got to see is...
That's good.
Yeah, they don't need to see that.
I feel like it's like...
I have had that, though, where, people are on the call, and I've had some that are in their bed laying down, and you get, like, the weird double chin thing going on, because it's awkward to lay down in your bed and be on
We got, like,
recording.
really lax about professionalism during COVID times.
A little bit.
And what is appropriate for cameras. I know there's still a guy to this day that will smoke a pipe on a Zoom call constantly. And it's just like... Really? Couldn't you just wait till after this Zoom meeting to smoke your pipe?
I don't know. I mean...
You really don't care anymore if you're smoking a pipe on a Zoom call.
Yeah, I just don't know about that one. I don't even know where that fits into the category. I mean, it's one thing you got the dress shirt on and, like, the pajama pants on, nobody can see that.
He did it in a meeting 4 Wednesdays ago. Saw it again.
Okay. Well... Paradigm shift for him,
right?
What he wanted to do.
I can smoke at all times, especially on Zoom calls to make everyone uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But anyway, you did a lot of recovery.
Yes.
And last weekend we were busy.
Yeah. So with that, I'm Dale.
I'm Kit.
And welcome to Catholic Hitch. We're a Catholic family seeking heaven and hoping to pick up others along the way.
Small talk.
Yeah, so the weekend was super busy. I don't even remember what we did on Saturday, but on Sunday, I threw the whole family into a complete tailspin because I didn't realize that my martial arts picnic, the family picnic, was actually between 10 and 2, which doesn't work for Mass for us because I can't do the MC for the 12:30 because I don't even get done till 1:30. So I confirmed that it was that because I thought when it was told to us in class that it was Saturday, October the 7th.
August.
Saturday. I guess I'm already ready for October. August the 7th, which would be Sunday. And my instructor said, no, it's Saturday. And so I was thinking that until we got the email saying, hey, make sure here's all the instructions of where to go and how to get in and all that stuff. And it said Sunday. I'm like, crap. So luckily I had another MC that was able to change with me. And we ended up going to the 7 a.m. Mass, which was actually kind of fun. So I think there's probably about the same amount of people that come to the 7 a.m. Mass versus 12:30 Mass at our church.
Yeah, it's a different crowd, though.
It is a different crowd. So there were tons of ushers, and lectors were taken care of. And I had me, Terrence, and 2 other brothers. One who's getting ready to go off to college, and his other brother is either a junior or a senior in high school, somewhere around there. So it was so nice.
On the altar.
On the altar, we had 4 servers, plus deacon and father. Made it super, super nice to be able to divvy up everything. Although, is it this one? No, it wasn't this one. So the previous Mass, the previous weekend, I had an extra server, 2 servers as well, at the 12:30. And we're supposed to hold the small missal for Father when he stands up. So he gets up and he goes, let us pray. And he looks over and I'm praying and, in the moment. And I look over and Terrence and the 2 other servers are sitting all the way on the left side of the altar or in the sanctuary, and they're not doing anything. I'm like, uh-oh. So I had to quickly grab the book, get it ready, and run over. And as I'm doing that, Father looks and sees us all just kind of sitting there, and he goes, because he knows exactly what happened. Nobody was ready.
Yeah, you were out of your element.
Yeah.
Your normal super low help element.
Yes. So this time with teenagers, that didn't happen. Had that all planned out. So Terrence held the book the first time. One of the other teenagers held the book the second time. Kind of all had things going. Everybody kind of got to trade off and do things. I didn't have to do the bells, which was nice because I actually learned a different way to ring them, which I think sounds a little bit better than I'd been doing. So I tried that today, Mass. I don't know if you noticed. Probably not.
Bells are bells are bells to me.
I tried it a different way. It's like this up-down motion instead of a twisty motion, and it seemed to be a little bit nicer.
I think you could still do like what I said in the very, very beginning of your
Stronger.
MC. No, go outside and just ring away. Like practice outside the church so that you're not bothering anyone.
I've done it outside the working sacristy a couple
I was
times
like,
to practice and get it right.
I mean, I'll startle someone on that bike path, but
That's okay. They need to hear some bells at a church.
Right?
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. It was good, but after that it was like go mode. Because did I make the peach pie that day or the day before? That's what I was doing on Saturday.
That was probably part of what delayed everything.
So I made the peach pie, which you so generously helped me figure out, which was amazing.
I'm taking credit for the filling.
You should. I made it look good. You made it taste good.
It was really good. So I canned peaches last summer with bourbon, and so we used some of that, and I had to add some thickener, added a little bit more sugar, and just kind of let it simmer to like thicken it up. It was the best peach pie filling that I've ever made. It was really good.
So the whole reason I was baking a peach pie, because it's not something I normally do, we had a competition for each one of our campuses to bring a peach dish to the picnic. And so I brought the peach pie, which I thought was excellent and did receive some compliments. It looked
beautiful. If I had made the dough, like the crust, I think it would have won. Because it just didn't taste like a normal... I mean, it just tasted like store-bought crust, which it was.
It had hard competition. I was the only guy in the competition.
You should have gotten extra credit for that.
Well, they didn't. It was a blind competition. They didn't know who made what. They just did the taste test. And then there was a descriptor that was said, which I didn't know I was supposed to do. So
I could have also written that
on the fly. I was doing that. Yeah. It is what it is.
Did you say it was North Glen grown
I did.
Bourbon peaches?
Yes, bourbon peaches.
Okay.
Yes, that were grown in our backyard and canned by my wife. And I think she put canned by mom with love or something like that. The gal who was like taking what I was saying and trying to make it something that was sort of
also, it sounded like your mom got credit.
Yeah, it was weird, but I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so there was
so you had a copywriter.
There was a peach ice cream cake that won because it was bold and daring that they made peach ice cream and it had a cake.
Did they make the peach ice cream?
They did.
Though?
They made the peach ice cream.
Who would ever actually know?
Well, they said they did. I mean, otherwise they're liars, and then they have no integrity, which is like
one of those core tenets.
You shouldn't be in the martial art if you don't follow that.
Did it say it was homemade ice cream?
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't just say it was an ice cream cake.
No.
Because I can make ice cream cake.
No.
But I can't make ice cream.
They said homemade, and apparently it was really good. And then there was another that was a cheesecake, peach cheesecake, which looked good, but it was...
Sounds terrible.
I don't know. So I didn't win, but it was a good time. Hobbled around through the injury, and I also made a banana pudding. I don't know what you call it. I don't know if I need to ask my mom. So it's something she made when I was a kid, which is vanilla wafers, bananas, and banana pudding.
Kind of like a trifle.
Is it? I don't know. I just know how to make it.
Just a more basic trifle.
Yeah, so I made that, and that actually got all the way eaten except for one scoop. I was happy about that I got the last scoop. But yeah, so we were there for a long time. It was like 11 to 2 o'clock, and then we left a little bit early just because it was wore out. And the kids, so there was a volleyball court, and I told them expressly, don't go digging in the volleyball court. And what do I find them doing? Burying each other in the volleyball court. I'm like, are you kidding me? And there's a volleyball game going while they're doing this at the back of the volleyball court.
Classic.
I was like, no, we're done. Not going to do it.
And I wasn't there.
No,
so.
you were busy at the church all day, which was, again, another schedule collision. Didn't even know it was going to happen because you had to get everybody recruited and signed up for Faith Formation and
it was
youth group, right?
registration weekend. So we weren't recruiting volunteers. We were just there to answer questions about the program. And actually, for the most part, we didn't need to be there except for the last Mass. We had a long line.
At the 12:30?
Yeah, the 12:30 Mass.
Weird.
That was probably more than the people we spoke to at all the other Masses combined. It was nice because our youth minister was able to recruit a couple more volunteers, including someone that's a new MC. So we were really, it was upselling the middle school youth group program because that's where she really needs help.
Yeah.
So yeah, that part was good. And it was always nice to be able to chat with someone that you work with and kind of get to know one another a little bit more. So it's nice seeing all the different Masses and the character of the different people because I do think that each Mass is a little bit distinct. So if you always go to a certain Mass, you should check out one of your other church Masses. Feel like a new person. Well, it's a new parishioner.
It's a completely different culture a lot of times.
It is.
They're so different across Masses, which is, you wouldn't think that, right? But it is.
It is.
Every Mass has got a different taste and flavor.
Yeah.
Which I guess we've gotten mostly the 9 a.m. That was what we did forever, and now we're doing the 12:30. And occasionally we'll do the 7 or the 4 o'clock on
I'm not
a
sure
Saturday.
We've been at the 11 in years and years.
Very rarely. I mean, I always see the tail end of it because I'm going there. So even today, so with our new pastor, we brought back the offertory.
Yeah.
So nice. So amazing. So I got there and I figured it would be done and over with, but it actually hadn't even happened yet. They were just getting done with the homily, turning from liturgy of the word to the liturgy of the Eucharist, and which was perfect because I had to show Terrence what to do because he's the one that has to go to the back and bring the family down with the offertory, the wine and water and the bread. And right as I got there, one of the lead MCs, which I know really well, he's a Knight of Columbus with me, and he was by himself doing it, so I ran over and grabbed one of the big doors and helped him out as the family went down and made sure Terrence sort of knew what he was doing, which he mostly got right for the first time. He did his job, but our usher got a little busy and wasn't able to open the big doors for him. So it's one of those things, right? And the first time you add something that you haven't done in the Mass in a long time back in. So when we were so efficient at doing everything on the sanctuary with the credence table that everything was done. The chalice was set up and ready to go. The host, the main Eucharist is right in its place. The corporals are down. Everything's done. And we look up and the doors are closed. And we're like, where's the lead MC or the lead usher? And he's, collecting with the offertory
it's ghost town
instead
Mass.
Of guiding. Yeah, because we were a little light today. And so,
as we usually are.
Yeah, and Terrence he's got the family back there, and he's just holding the candle, and I can see him, and I'm trying to wave him down without being like, hey, come on down. But the doors weren't open. So we had to kind of wait for 30 seconds to a minute up there, and then finally Father said, let's go down to the front, and I helped today because our deacon, he wasn't able to go down the steps very easily today. He was hurting pretty good. They finally came down with everything, and then we went back up and got it done. But it was wonderful, and I've already heard positive accolades of yay, we brought the families back, and we can have the offertory come down the aisle, and that's just wonderful because it is supposed to be from the laity. These are the gifts of which are brought up to and for God. So that was
to join our
nice
sacrifice with the sacrifice of the Mass.
Exactly. Yeah. So, last weekend was crazy. This weekend felt better, and we're actually podcasting again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we got to the end of the night, and I'm like, we didn't podcast today, did we? And you're like, nope.
Yeah.
It's well.
I'm laying down with ice packs at that point. I was done.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Big talk.
Big talk.
So, my brain percolated a little bit today on this idea after our new pastor had talked to us. He had mentioned a mural that we have on the side of our nave. And that mural, I think it's been there for maybe 6 years now, maybe, somewhere around there. And it's a mural that depicts the saints of our church. And there are 68 saints on that wall. And what I didn't think about and hadn't realized, and maybe this is because he was at the AMBO and he's homilizing, looking over at this mural, that all of the saints on that wall point and face towards the sanctuary, which is something you don't get necessarily when you're in the nave and you're part of the congregation towards the sanctuary necessarily. It doesn't quite look that same way. But what it made me think about is there's two parts of art that happen within our church. There is liturgical art, which is art that is so beautiful that it helps us to transcend within the liturgy, to bring our hearts, our minds, and our souls up to Christ, and to be, brought into the reverence of the moment of the eternal sacrifice. And then there's also didactic artwork, and didactic being artwork that helps to educate you on elements of things. And so a lot of times, go ahead.
And you're speaking for all churches, not
Yes,
just our
not just
specific
ours.
church. Okay.
Yeah. So an example of a didactic artwork would be, let's say, looking at the symbol, one of the mystagogical symbols of the church that shows a pelican that is picking her breast and bleeding, and the blood is being fed to her chicks. And that is the symbol of Christ giving his offering of self, and it is seen in nature through the pelican. And so it's a learning moment to see of the beauty that Christ has for us, but it's not necessarily a transcendent moment. It could be, depending on how eloquently that icon or symbol is done. So they sometimes can go together. But if any of you have been in a church that was built in the 1960s, you've probably seen some stained glass that as a child you stared at and went, what is that exactly? Not quite sure what it's showing me. But then at the bottom it'll say like the baptism of Jesus. Oh, okay, so those 7 pieces of stained glass that are really blocky and clunky must represent Jesus. And those other ones must be, is that John the Baptist? And what's that thing, that white blob above? Oh, that must be the Holy Spirit dove, right?
Was that a style of the time?
I guess. I don't know. I just don't know. I really don't. It has stumped me my whole life why they exist, but they do. I don't know. I mean, we went from such beautiful stained glass art where most of the stained glass that we see that we can understand, like physically the images within it, is a blend of glass with hand paint work. So it's etched into the glass of, the face or whatever the image is, and we can see what it is, and it's beautiful. Most of those are so well done. It's didactic and transcendent. So that would be an example, but I'm just going to put the caveat out there for those really bad ones. Unfortunately, our church has a lot of really bad ones, and I hope over the years those will fade away and we'll get newer ones that are more traditional. Who knows? Might be a pipe dream of mine, but I'd like to see it that
Start
way.
the campaign now.
Right. So I was trying to find a good example or a place to do, like, to find beautiful transcendent images that could also be didactic. And I came across churchpop.com. And it's like, if you got some time and you just need to look at some beautiful images, you can scroll through, and it has hundreds of churches looking at their ceilings, looking at their the apse or the nave or all of these different aspects of the church buildings that have been just beautifully done throughout all of the ages. And it's not limited to just, let's say, a Roman Rite church. There's Byzantine, there's Orthodox, there's Greek, because there's beauty in all of them, and they all have different styling. But when you look at them, they lead. The whole purpose of them, I think we've talked about this before, is to lead us to Christ, lead us into the sacrifice of the Mass, lead us to become saints. And so, with that, what it made me think about was this little old book that we've had, and I don't know if you had that before we were married. I never saw it until after we were married.
So this, I think my parents got me a copy of a book that they had while I was a child. So it wasn't this specific book, but a different version of this book. All of the etchings are the same.
Yeah.
But that's what I grew up with.
So the book's name is the Rosary Album, a visual and scriptural meditation on the Rosary, and it was, I guess, originally done by Michael Buccino. I'm going to just say that's Buccino because it looks Italian. And what it is a book, and this one, the one we have is the 8th edition. It originally came out in 1977. It has all of the mysteries. Really, dog? All of the mysteries except for the luminous mysteries. I'm not sure if the 9th edition, because I did see there is a 9th edition that's out there. Maybe it has the luminous mysteries.
It'd be hard in a way to recapture the style.
In some ways. So what it is every single bead of the Rosary has a scriptural prayer and an image for you to meditate upon. And when I thought, this is 1977, I think something within our, especially our American culture, we have lost, especially as adults, the ability to imagine, to take the time out and visualize in our own minds anything. I think it's really, really hard because we've had TV for so long. We've had all of these other things that have kind of fed that space that we don't on our own necessarily have that ability to just think about a scene and meditate within it and imagine what's happening. So when I saw this, it's kind of what made me think after Father was talking about, how we can, not just within the church, but within our own homes, have something that would help us to contemplate and bring an imagination, and what better way to do within the Rosary.
Yeah.
And we've meditated with this and used this book, a lot through the years. So
you asked me to find some that I liked, and I just, it's hard to find one that I like more than any of the others, but I tend to like the 5th decade of the Rosary's imagery.
These are the glorious.
Which is, of course, yes, of the glorious. So it's the coronation of Mary,
Queen
of Heaven.
Yeah.
So I've always liked a lot of the ways that these are pictured. I love, there's an image of Jesus escorting his mother up the stairs, ascending into heaven. And it's all very lovely. There's clouds everywhere and cherubim and the saints and everything. But I've always really liked that one. And just all the beauty of these images, trying to imagine what heaven is. And it's very, I guess, classic heaven. There's lots of clouds. Yeah,
don't get me wrong. There's some weirdness with some of these, but the thing that's really lovely about them, each one of them is what's called an intaglio print. So an intaglio print was originally designed in Italy, where they would take zinc or copper or another metal that is malleable enough that you could take a very hardened pen and scrape or etch the surface to create a negative image of the artwork. So if you're not familiar with this kind of artwork, think about a dollar bill. A dollar bill uses an intaglio print style, where depending on how much you press down with the pen or the scrape tool that you're using, will engrave the metal and then allow for more or less ink to be left on the page when it's pressed up against the plate. That's how it works. And so before this technique was created, the most common technique that was used was a wood print. And if you can imagine trying to carve into a wood block, hi children.
Excellent, not excellent sneaking.
Okay, yeah, go outside. And for your commentary purposes, one of them is dressed like a pirate ninja. The other is dressed in her cooking outfit, and they're carrying a suitcase. So they might not come back.
Yeah, I know. They might be running away.
We'll see.
That's what happened in my house when my sibling took a suitcase out the door. Growing up.
They shouldn't be able to get away too far.
Back to Italian.
So wood prints were the most popular until I think about the 14th, 15th century, somewhere in there. Then this technique started to come out during the Renaissance period. And it allows you to get a lot of detail in a very small space. So I've always been curious. These little images are probably 2 inches by 2.5 inches, maybe. They're pretty small.
But what the original was sized?
If the original was sized that way or not, because, this is a reprint from the 1970s. They had the technology back then to Xerox and shrink them down if they wanted to, which they probably did. But even still, even if it is shrunk, you can see there's just so much detail in it. And like the first one, is the first bead of the decade is Mary is taken up into heaven. And then it has, is that from?
That's from the
It's
Canticles.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the Canticles, right?
So isn't that Song of Solomon?
Yes.
Yes.
That's why I needed your help, because I can remember the name has changed since then, because this would have probably been, these probably were taken from the Douay Rheims book at the time in the 1970s. That was the book that was used, not the American Standard Second Edition we use now. Yes. So it says Mary is taken up into heaven, and it's so it'd be the Song of Solomon or the Book of Wisdom.
Yeah, so it has scriptural quotes for every bead. As long as there is a scriptural quote to be had, there's like a little bit in the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary that is coming from tradition.
Yes.
But otherwise, they cite the Bible.
Yeah, for each one of these. So, arise, my beloved, my beautiful one, and come, for see, the winter is past. And it's, the Assumption of Mary.
Mary's popped into heaven.
Yes, and you can see all of the little angels that are around the clouds. She has her halo and her restored body, so she's youthful and beautiful in the way that we would see beauty. So, and around, it's, you got to be young to see the words, but it has the entire Hail Mary in like the border printed all the way around it. So that's why I think these were bigger, like one sheet each probably back in the day. But it's still, it's just a really beautiful way to be both didactic and transcendent, liturgically leading, because with each one of these, if you use this and just say the rosary, not in the way that most men do, but just calmly and meditate on each one, it can take you a good 30 minutes probably to get through, but it's so much more gratifying than no offense to us knights, but we tend to go, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Just super fast, cranking through like it's like, all right, we're going to get this done, versus taking the time, enjoying, smelling the roses, seeing Mary as she's going up into heaven, and just like having that moment to think through. Because even when you get the first mystery, or like the overall mystery, the glorious mystery, you don't necessarily, or that decade, right? You don't necessarily get like the image in your head as much as with these. There's so much more to ponder and think upon and dwell and imbibe, I guess, not the right word, but chew on all of the different things that you can see.
Praying through liturgical art.
Yeah.
And what I've always loved about this book is you can tell how much work each image must have caused. It caused a lot of work. And you just don't see that anymore. You see illustrations that are quite nice, but, they're often probably being done on a tablet and a screen. And, you can do some shading. You can do some, I guess, what is it when you like pattern infill and kind of adjust and manipulate some shading that way, but it lacks this hands-on artisanal detail.
Right. There's craft.
You can't recreate something like this digitally. It'd be very difficult. So
Yeah. I agree with that. Totally. It just has a sense of beauty. I mean, each one of these probably originally took, I don't know, 40, 60 hours to create.
yeah.
For each print, and there's however many, 50 times 5, 4,
Three.
3.
Because there's
Right,
only the
there's
3
no- yeah,
mysteries. Or 3 mysteries.
Right, so that's a lot of
It
work.
is.
Yeah, the only thing that throws me off when I look at them, and again, it's maybe my preference. There's images of God as like the old man father God, which is a little weird because technically we only know God through his son.
Yeah, Jesus is the image of
Yes.
God.
So that's something that's a little bit weird in these, but it's still beautiful.
I mean, they're trying an attempt at like the visualizing the Trinity.
Right, exactly.
I think that visualizing the Trinity has always been pretty problematic
Right.
in art.
It totally is.
Yeah, so Jesus is basically the matrix image of God. So if God were plugged into the matrix, Jesus is what would be in the construct,
Yeah.
right? It's because isn't that in the matrix? It's your self-image
Yes.
that you manifest in the construct when
Yes.
you're jacked in, and you have fleshy muscles, even though your body's emaciated, and
Yeah. Avatars
it's your-
before there were avatars.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's Jesus. I mean, but he's also divine. So.
Yeah. I totally get it.
That's a good way to try to explain how do you be the image of God. It's like, that's it.
It is.
Matrix made it easier.
It's above our pay grade to figure out how you're supposed to depict that.
Yeah. Not trying to be heretical,
No.
but I probably am accidentally.
No, I don't think you are. I think that in some ways these images could be heretical if you thought that, God was the old man in the sky with a big white beard and on poofy clouds.
I know, but he is, I mean,
We don't know
is
what he
there
looks like.
is that actually heretical, or is there again, I mean, you're in modern architecture, you deal with decision making around liturgical art. So if say the Chapel of the Holy Trinity or the Church of the Holy Trinity wanted to come in and get some new mosaics done in order to try to capture the Trinity, how would you go about guiding them in their art decision making?
Well, the artist would be carefully picked. And if the artist were to say, hey, let's, show like a classic Renaissance image of God as the old father and he's, touching Jesus and
Like the Sistine Chapel. Isn't
yeah,
that the Sistine Chapel?
kind of that idea, which that actually comes out of the pagan tradition of depicting a god. And so they were trying, like it was hip and cool in the time to depict God as a father figure, but there were a lot of other problems that were going on in the church at the time.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure. I can't remember what book I was reading, but it was talking about that, because again, we do not understand the image of God outside of his manifestations that he has given us, which do not show an old man with a beard. Never. Anywhere in the Bible can you find it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I guess if you were to actually try to visualize God based on the Bible, it would be as a shepherd, wouldn't it?
Or a giant pillar of fire.
Well, yeah, I guess
or
that's
a burning
true.
bush, or
I mean,
so
but
many
he
things.
often talks about shepherding his people, even in the Old Testament. I will shepherd them. And so that's a
Yeah.
rather consistent image. But yeah,
Or
certainly
the
he is
bride and the
actually
groom.
imaged as a pillar of fire or cloud.
Yes, yeah, but he's not an old man on the cloud.
No.
That
So actually,
didn't
that
exist.
could be a way you could do it is have kind of the Jesus with a cloudy background and then the dove of the Holy Spirit.
Maybe.
A fiery dove.
I don't know. When I get the opportunity, if God wills it, to help a Holy Trinity parish with
Pick
new
out-
artwork, I will let you know what we figure out with that one.
All right.
So I found one copy of this book that is on Amazon. we'll put it in the show notes so you can see what we're talking about, and you'll probably be like, oh yeah, I remember that book. My grandma had it, or something like that. Or you might have one laying around your house, but they actually are pretty rare, not easily to find these days. There are newer ones, but they have, like you were saying, weird clip arty type stuff, and not as elegant and beautiful as this.
It's like if I could make the liturgical art on my computer, like it probably is not as refined as it ought to be.
Yeah, so there's a challenge
using in prayer.
There's a challenge to anybody who's out there that has a ability to use art and has a desire to do sacred art. Make a new one of these rosary albums.
Yeah,
world needs them. Well, with that, if you've got any ideas on the podcast or questions, we'd love to hear from you. CatholicHitch@gmail.com.
May the Lord guide and direct our journey.
Amen.